From Tomato 618. Why should the world support Israel when the Jews oppress people that have lived there for thousands of years? Unquote. Well, first of all, the Arab Muslim Nazis have not lived in Israel for thousands of years. The vast majority of them came from Egypt and from other Arab countries. And they came there only after the Jews started rebuilding the land and making the land, turning the desert into a garden, miraculously, with God's help, of course. That's when the Arabs started coming there. Before that, there were very few people who lived in the land of Israel, before the Jews made their great return. And by the way, there were always Jews in Israel. There was always a Jewish community in Israel throughout history. Even throughout the 2,000 years of exile, there was always some Jewish presence in Israel. But the Arab Muslim Nazis started flooding into Israel, encouraged by the Turks and then encouraged by the British to come in when the Jews started returning to the land. They were not living there for thousands of years. They are illegal trespassers who have no right to be in that land. And as far as why the world should support Israel, very simple. Because God says that the world should support Israel. I will bless them that bless thee and curse them that curse thee. And God clearly delineates in the Torah that every human being is required and commanded to support the right of the Jewish people to the entire land of Israel. And God says he will curse people who don't support it. That's what it says. You either believe the Bible or don't. And if you don't, which you obviously don't believe it, then you're going to be part of the curse. You're going to be under the curse. I don't think it's wise to be under the curse, but now that's what you've chosen. Fine. And now, next is from Wasuf 10, who writes, and I quote, "The Jews are trying to destroy the white race by pushing Muslim and black immigration on European society, and then we have to defend. And then when we defend ourselves, the Jews cry anti-Semitism." Unquote. The Jews are pushing Muslims into European society. The Jews. There are very few Jews left in Europe. You murdered all of the Jews. You murdered 90% of the Jews in Europe. And even the few that remain, most of them left. You don't have many Jews left in Europe. You have out of 550 million people in Europe. You have such a tiny. You have a fraction of a percent are Jewish. You have very few Jews left in Europe, and they do not have a lot of influence in Europe. They do not, despite all the anti-Semitic propaganda. The Jews are despised in Europe. The Jews are trying to destroy No, it's your people. Your people that are welcoming tens of millions of Muslims into Europe. Your people who decadently are converting to Islam and accepting Islam. Your people who want Muslims there because you want cheap labor, because you're greedy. Your people are doing that, not the Jews. Jews aren't making you do anything. You always want to scapegoat the Jews for what you are responsible for. And you will also, by the way, be cursed by God for having done that. Because you go against God's people, God will curse you for that. And now we go to Helen Brandsgrove, who writes, and I quote, "How come if people attack Arab Semites, they aren't called anti-Semitic, but if you attack a Jew or Israel, you are labeled an anti-Semite," unquote. Because the term anti-Semite refers to Jews, refers to being against Jews. That's the historic meaning of the term anti-Semite. It doesn't refer to Arabs. But if you want, you can say Jew haters, which is what you are. If you want, you can refer to people that are against the Jews as Jew haters. You can call them anti-Jewish if you want. But traditionally, the term anti-Semitic is referring to Jews, not referring to people who are against Arabs, because Arabs are Muslims, or 97 or 98% of the Arabs are Muslims. There are some Arabs who are not Muslim, but it's a very small minority. I'm Yisrael, I'm Yisrael, I'm Yisrael, I'm Yisrael, I'm Yisrael, I'm Yisrael.